Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. You ready to go?
Yeah, I'm excited for this one.
Me too, me
It's
too.
going to be a wild ride.
Today we are going into the world of faith and miracles. Through a YouTube sermon, we'll be looking at a YouTube sermon from Pastor Jerry Eze's channel,
Okay.
NSPPD, which stands for New Season Prophetic Prayers and Declarations.
I see.
Now, this is, a popular online ministry,
Yeah.
has a global following, known for its very energetic prayer sessions and some very dramatic stories. The specific video we're looking at today is from November 11th, 2024. It's titled, "And the Lord Did What He Said, Prophecies Fulfilled, Prayers Answered, NSPPD, 11th November 2024.
Okay.
Now, even if you're not particularly religious, stick with us, because this deep dive is going to be a fascinating look at how belief can really shape reality, the art of storytelling, and that universal human desire for hope, and maybe, a little divine intervention when things get tough. Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, and so, Pastor Eze, throughout this sermon, he really hammers home this idea that God has this power to make prophecies come true.
Right.
And answer prayers no matter how impossible the circumstances seem.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of illustrates this idea through just a ton of these personal testimonies from his followers.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so let's dive into some of these stories. I think one of the ones that really grabbed my attention was about this woman who'd been declared clinically dead.
Oh, wow.
And her sister was actually listening to the live NSPPD prayer session.
Okay.
And during the session, Pastor Eze said that there was someone listening who was next to a dead woman. So you can imagine, this is a pretty intense situation.
Absolutely.
With, the sister's grief. But she puts the phone right next to her deceased mother, like Pastor Eze instructs. They're all praying together.
Okay.
But then initially nothing happens. So what happens next?
So the sister starts to question everything, right? Like, did she even hear Pastor Eze correctly? Was this prayer not meant for her mother?
Yeah.
But then this is where it gets really interesting. About 5 minutes later, the woman who had been dead comes back to life.
What, 5 minutes later?
5 minutes later. That's what they're saying.
I mean, that's definitely a story that pushes the boundaries of what we think is possible.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
I mean, it really speaks to this deep human need for hope.
Right.
Even when logic or, past experience tells us that there's none left.
Right.
And, it raises some really interesting questions about the power of belief and its potential impact on even something, as seemingly final as death.
I mean, wow. All right, moving on to story number 2. We have a man diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor.
Right.
And his wife has just unwavering faith and believes that God is going to heal him, despite the doctors giving, very grim prognosis.
Yeah. The doctor had actually said that her husband might not even regain consciousness for like 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And that walking was completely out of the question for at least a year.
Right. But then, just hours after a very risky surgery, the husband opens his eyes.
Oh, my God.
And responds when his wife calls his name.
Wow.
Then this is where it gets really unbelievable.
Okay.
As they're moving him out of the ICU, he just stands up from the stretcher.
He just stands up.
The doctor said he wouldn't walk for a year.
I mean, it's like defying all medical expectation.
It is.
And really taps into this idea that, faith can triumph even when faced with these impossible odds.
It makes you think about the power of unwavering faith, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
Yeah.
I think from a psychological standpoint, it's fascinating how deeply held beliefs can influence our perception.
Right.
And potentially even influence physical outcomes.
Yeah.
But, that's definitely a topic with lots of different opinions and interpretations.
Right. Lots of different viewpoints on that for sure. Speaking of defying the odds, the next story takes us over to the UK.
Okay.
Where a student is facing deportation.
Oh, no.
Because he can't pay his tuition. He's pretty skeptical at first.
Understandably.
Yeah. But decides to attend this NSPPD conference and pray. And incredibly, after attending the conference and praying with the community, he finds a sponsor to cover his tuition.
Wow.
And even gets granted a 5-year visa. Talk about answered prayers.
Yeah.
Even if you're not particularly religious, this story just highlights the power of hope and maybe, taking a chance even when things seem absolutely dire.
Absolutely. It's a good reminder that sometimes even a tiny spark of belief combined with action can lead to these amazing and unexpected results.
Right, right. All right, now buckle up for this next one.
Okay.
It's a pretty intense story about a woman diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer.
Oh, okay.
This is a particularly aggressive form of the disease.
Yeah, yeah.
She goes through an incredibly grueling 20 rounds of chemo.
Oh, my God.
The cancer is still there.
Right.
Then Pastor Eze holds a prayer session specifically for people battling triple-negative breast cancer. And during her very next checkup, the tumor is completely gone.
Oh.
What are the chances? It's like something you only hear about in stories.
It really is.
Yeah.
Pastor Eze often talks about the importance of what he calls declared prayer.
Okay. Could you explain what that is for those of us who aren't familiar with the term?
Yeah, so declared prayer basically means, speaking about what you want.
Okay.
As if it's already a done deal,
Right.
with absolute certainty and conviction. It's a practice about aligning your words and your actions with your belief and the desired outcome.
Got it.
And this story is a really powerful example of that idea in action.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, our final story for this section features a woman who's been struggling with polycystic ovarian syndrome
Okay.
and has unfortunately had multiple failed fertility treatments. She's desperate to have children, specifically twins,
Okay.
and she even goes so far as to pick out their names in advance. And what do you know, against all odds and medical expectation, she conceives twins naturally.
Wow.
Defied her medical history, the statistics, everything.
Wow.
What does this tell us about the power of belief?
I mean, this story is a really potent illustration of how belief can be this active force, not
Right.
just passive hope.
Right.
It really suggests that belief in ways we may not fully understand can shape our reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very compelling case study.
So we've heard 5 pretty incredible stories. And even though they're all unique and personal, there's definitely a common thread running through them, right?
Absolutely. All these stories touch on defying medical expectations.
Right.
The power of persistent and declared prayer, and this idea that hope and faith are these incredibly powerful forces, even if the mechanisms behind them remain a mystery.
Yeah.
It's also interesting to think about the role of community in all of this.
Yeah.
The NSPPD viewers, they aren't just passively watching these testimonies.
Right.
They're actively engaging and participating.
Yeah, it's not just about individual faith, is it?
No.
There's this whole network of people sharing their experiences, supporting each other,
Right.
reinforcing these beliefs.
Exactly like they're commenting during the live streams. Sharing your own testimonies, praying together.
Right.
It creates this incredible sense of collective energy and purpose.
It's almost like a virtual support group with a spiritual twist.
Yeah.
United by the shared belief in the power of prayer and the possibility of miracles.
And that shared experience, that sense of belonging to something bigger than yourself,
Right.
can be incredibly powerful, especially when you're going through, really tough times.
It's like they're drawing strength from each other's faith. And when they witness someone else's miracle, it seems to reinforce their own belief that anything is possible.
Yeah, it creates this sense of hope that goes beyond just the individual. It almost becomes this shared reality for the entire community.
Wow, so I'm starting to see a pattern here. It's not just about individual belief.
Right.
It's the power of a community reinforcing those beliefs and creating a space where these incredible things seem possible.
That's a really insightful observation.
Yeah.
It speaks to the power of collective belief and how it can shape our experiences.
Right.
Maybe even our realities.
Right, yeah.
It's something that, sociologists and anthropologists have been studying for a long time.
Yeah.
This power of rituals.
Right.
Shared narratives, group identity.
Yeah.
To influence not just individual behavior, but also potentially outcomes.
So even if we approach these stories with a healthy dose of skepticism, there's still something about them that's hard to ignore, isn't there?
Absolutely. The way they're told,
Yeah.
the raw emotion, the seeming impossibility of some of these events.
Right.
It's easy to see why these stories resonate so deeply with so many people.
And Pastor Eze is such a skilled storyteller.
Oh, yeah.
He really knows how to weave these narratives in a way that captures your attention and makes you feel like you're right there with the people in the story.
He uses vivid imagery,
Right.
dramatic pauses,
Yeah.
calls to action. It's like he's building this world where anything is possible if you just have enough faith.
I can see how even someone who isn't religious could get caught up in the power of these stories. It's like they offer a glimpse into a reality where hope wins over despair, where faith can move mountains,
Right.
where the impossible can actually happen.
It's the allure of possibility, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even if we don't fully believe in it. There's a part of us that wants to believe that, these kinds of miracles can happen.
It really makes you think about how much of our reality is shaped by our own beliefs and expectations, and maybe even more importantly, it makes you wonder what we might be capable of. If we dared to believe in the impossible.
It's a question worth pondering. What if we let go of some of our limiting beliefs and embraced a more expansive view of what's possible? What might we achieve then?
This deep dive's given me so much to think about. I'm walking away with a whole new appreciation for the power of belief,
Yeah.
the art of storytelling, and the incredible resilience of the human spirit.
It's a reminder that even when faced with these seemingly insurmountable challenges, hope and faith can be these incredibly powerful forces for change, whether on an individual level or as a collective force.
So to anyone listening, here's something to think about. What miracle are you hoping for? What dream have you put on hold because you didn't believe it was possible? Maybe it's time to dust off that goal and embrace the possibility, however improbable it may seem. Could it be that the act of believing, declaring it out loud, and surrounding yourself with people who share that belief is actually the key to unlocking the impossible?
It's a fascinating idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it goes beyond just the realm of faith. Think about like the power of positive thinking, visualization techniques that athletes use, and even the placebo effect in medicine.
That's a really interesting connection. Are you suggesting that there might be like a scientific basis for the power of belief?
Well, I wouldn't say it's conclusive,
Okay.
but there's definitely growing research in fields like psychoneuroimmunology
Wow.
that suggests a strong link between our mental state,
Yeah.
our belief systems and our physical health and well-being.
So the idea is that our thoughts and beliefs can actually have a tangible impact on our bodies and our lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while there's still a lot we don't understand about the complexities of the mind-body connection, it does open up some really intriguing possibilities.
This has been quite a journey. We started with these incredible stories of answered prayers and miraculous healings, and now we're talking about the science of belief. It just goes to show how interconnected these different aspects of human experience truly are.
It's a reminder that even in our, pursuit of knowledge and understanding, there's always room for mystery and wonder.
Right.
And that sometimes the most profound truths lie at the intersection of science, spirituality, and the power of the human spirit.
Well said. I think this deep dive has given us all a lot to think about, whether you're a person of faith, a skeptic, or somewhere in between. I think these stories and the themes we've explored today offer a glimpse into the power of belief and the human desire for something bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely. It's a testament to our enduring hope for a world where miracles can happen, where the impossible becomes possible, and where the power of belief can shape our realities in these extraordinary ways.
So until our next deep dive, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep believing. You never know what miracles you might unlock.